Today is Monday, February 17th, 2025, and this is Spring Office Hours, Season 4, Episode 6, Moving Forward, Moving Java Forward. My name is Dan Vega, Spring Developer Advocate at Broadcom, joined by my good friend and colleague, DaShaun Carter. DaShaun, how's it going?
I'm having a wonderful day. I am. This is just fun. Already getting started. I'm a little bit nervous for today's show. You might have saw me just making sure I didn't have any pepper in my teeth backstage here because this is kind of a big one. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. What have you been up to lately? What's been going on?
Raspberry Pis. Have you heard of Raspberry Pis?
I have.
I like to deploy Java to Raspberry Pis, and I'm doing
like
all the things. And it's fun, right? It's low dollar, like great outcomes, fun stuff, and they're fun. They feel like toys. They look like toys. They feel like toys. So it's just fun work.
Yeah, we got a comment here. Today's a holiday. Yes, it is. We actually have off today, but we did not want to miss this. We wanted to be here today and be here with you and our special guests. So that's why we're here working. We're working for you.
Yep.
As a reminder, this is a live stream, usually every Monday, 1 to 2 Eastern. If you are here in the live stream, please go ahead and get your questions in. We'll see if we can't answer them. But if you are not here live, we go ahead and stream this to the replay to the Spring Developer YouTube channel, so you can catch it there. Also, we take this and turn it into a podcast, so you can get this probably tomorrow morning wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you are in the live stream, tell us where you're from. Say hi. Tell us where you're from because my mom and dad are watching. They like to see where everybody's joining from around the world.
Hi, Mom and Dad. All right, with that, I'm going to bring on our special guest today. He goes by many names, but I know him as Share. He is the great Shar, Mr. Java Community. Good to have you here, Shar. How's it going?
Yep. One name only.
Man.
One name needed.
That's crazy. The one and only. I think, it's funny you mentioned that, Dan. It's good to be the only one, but I do have a twin.
Oh, you do have a twin. I didn't know that.
I do have a twin,
but
sister. Twin sister. That's right. So she's my better half, the smart one and the good-looking one. I'm just here for comedy relief. But you're right. Like today's a holiday here for many of us in the United States. But I was not going to miss this. Like you have things on your list of engagements that you want to participate in, and when you and DaShaun reached out to me, I'm like, really? You're picking me? Like,
of course.
You guys are the special ones. That's not me. Like,
no, that's not true at all.
Don't wrap me that way. That's crazy. Those are big shoes to fill. But thank you.
For those who may not know the one and only Shar, can you give us a little background on who you are and what you're doing these days?
Oh, for sure. So longtime member of the Java family, Java community, and the Java team. As you can tell, I'm the stable version. I'm very stable. Started my journey with Java while I was in telco back in 1996, 1995. Wow. I was actually able to attend the very first JavaOne in 1996. Wow. Never did I think it would take me to where I am today, but joined the Java team on December 8th of 2000, and I've played myriads of roles. I joined when I first started. I was working on tooling, so IDE integration with feature phones before we were working on smartphones, working on quality outreach, working on learning content, working on sales enablement to ensure there's a revenue stream behind Java to keep it funded and sharp and vibrant and innovative. And then, lo and behold, I've been in this, audience engagement role since 2009. So it's all about the community, making sure developers know that Java, the language and the platform, as great as it is, it's all of us. It's you, it's DaShaun. It's all of the members that are out there, regardless of your industry, regardless of your background, regardless of your skill set. We are sort of the heartbeat of what makes Java possible. And we've been, I'm looking at the calendar, May 23rd. We're coming up on 30 years of Java.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah. Good job. Well, not on me, but we're standing on the shoulders of giants, many of whom we publicly know, but so many more who will probably be unnamed through the annals of time. And it's unfortunate, but we really are standing on the shoulders of giants. And the question is, how do we get to the next 30 years and beyond? Part of it is, of course, ensuring the platform and the language stay innovative and address modern app dev and all of the use cases that develop even more rapidly than ever before. But it's ensuring that that community spirit and heartbeat remains strong. So, when that time does come to upgrade to a new version in the community sense, I can hand that baton off to someone uh, behind me to take that on in as a clear lane as possible. That is, absent of hurdles and as smooth as possible. So, um, yeah, it's exciting. Like my entire job pivots on people like you, ensuring you're kept up to date, you stay energized and have a spirit and passion and purpose. Purpose is important around Java.
Yeah.
And make sure we all stay connected.
Yeah, you said it. 30 years, man. It's kind of hard to believe too, right? Like after how many times Java's been declared dead and it wasn't going to move forward and all of those things that we've heard.
Gosh, yeah.
And here we are 30 years later. Pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's funny. So there was this running joke that, as you called it, like Java is declared dead, and that's been going on, I think, since the Sun days prior to Oracle acquiring Sun, probably in that like 2008, 2007 period. There were starts of it, but then like every year, oh, Java is dead, and then somehow it's resurrected the next year, and then someone says Java is dead, and then yet behold, it's resurrected again, and it's sometimes hard to crack through perceptions.
Yeah.
Because once perceptions get rooted, it becomes your mental reality. And Java has been tested. It's hardened. It continues to provide performance, stability, and security improvements to your app. It offers productivity to developers. It offers a very rich ecosystem and community. But having platforms like this to say that is important because let's be honest, we haven't said it with veracity and consistency for a very long time. And so when you're absent in telling a message over and over again that's consistent, fear, uncertainty, and doubt start creeping in. And that's just the human condition. I get it. So we here on the Java team just need to be more consistent with quote unquote getting the word out, letting the world know that there is a very vibrant future ahead of us, both in terms of the technology and inclusive of the community.
Yeah, and I will say, just sorry, DaShaun, to cut you off, but just I don't think you and your team get enough credit. The things that you guys do for the community, the different podcasts, all the different blogs that you guys do, the representation at the different conferences, and I know it's not just you. You have a great team behind you, so kudos to you and your team for everything you guys do. I'm a big fan of everything.
Yeah, and it's not a team behind me; it's a team I'm part of. We all work together. There is no like
next to.
Yes.
I'm next to them. Absolutely. So we have a great leader in place that sort of gives us our general North Star that we march towards, and the entire team has their own special skill sets and personalities and uniqueness that we then embrace. So, I mean, you mentioned it. Everyone on the team has a specific role and expertise and purpose, and that then gets manifested through a variety of executions. It could be all about enabling end users. So, as developers, we always got to keep learning. Like, there's no notion of not enough to know, or I've learned everything. Like that whole concept of I'm an expert, I kind of feel is weird because like once you become an expert, like what else is there to learn?
There's nothing left to do.
So I kind of feel like the mantra we should be aspiring to is seek expertise, and so keep our learning going. So we have folks like Jose Pumard, based in France, who's great with his JEP cafes that explore various JDK enhancement proposals to kind of educate developers on specific features and then do deep dives. He builds out a lot of sets of tutorials. We have folks like Billy Carando, who does shorts, because long form video is important, short form is also important. So he does these 1-minute sips of Java to explore lesser known features in the He's a
And he's right
machine.
down the street from DaShaun. He's
Right down the
in
street.
Kansas City. Yeah.
Right down there in Kansas City. We have folks like Anna Maria Mihalcianu and Nikolai Parlog that are sort of like the engines behind the Inside Java podcasts
Which is great.
webinar and the webinar series. We have folks like David Delabase that runs the quality outreach program, so various tools, libraries, and framework vendors can understand how to keep up from version to version.
Yep.
We have folks like Crystal Furman and Heather Stevens that are leading the broader Java and Edu initiative. We have folks like Dennis Mikagon that's working on the Java Playground, so you have an in-browser experience to look at new features before they are actually utilized or implemented, so you can see how it actually runs in production. Folks
Yep.
like Jim Grazanzio, who runs the Duke's Corner podcast, which is all about people, and the Inside Java newsletter. I mean, the team is just sharpened with various expertise and personalities that focus on various areas of 10 million developers. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it
And of course,
is.
Chad Aramura, who's our sort of our leader to give us our North Star direction, but the latitude to do what it is that we do.
Yep. And I'm glad you mentioned all those pieces, because that's what I think I was trying to get at, is like there are so many things going on within the team that you work on. And maybe, I don't know that folks realize how much is going on over there. So I'm glad you were able to highlight some of that.
Yeah, and we got to keep saying it with our full chest and with confidence, but with humbleness, because we're a small but nimble team, but we're always looking to refine our programs. I have to say that as great as we appreciate the successes that we are currently having these last 4 to 5 years, there's still so much more to do, but B, so much more improvement we can apply to our existing channels and programs and engagements. And I mean, at the end of the day, we need feedback and input so we can become sharper, more precise, and as they say, meet the needs of the audience, win the crowd.
One of the words you've been saying is platform. Java is a platform, and that it more than resonates. It paints a picture in my head around a few things. First of all, the JVM and all of the JVM languages that are out there. Then also the JEP, the organization of how we're taking things and how we're improving Java. And then also the community. One of the things, and I'm going to give a shout out, Ian's here, Ian Duncan, he's kicked off the Kenya Java user group. And now we have these Java user groups, and they're all over the world. And that's all rolls up to the work that you do, right? That whole organization being a recognized Java user group internationally, that's a big deal. But when you say that word platform, these are the things that come into my head. And the last one is some of the stuff that's been happening. There's tooling out there that gives you visibility into JVMs running across your enterprise, across your organization. And it reminds me of moons ago where I had something similar for all my Linux distributions, but now I can have it for the JVM because there's so much happening on each of these JVMs where it almost feels like, in some cases, it's a full system. What we're deploying to these JVMs has multiple modules, multiple components. It's got exporting metrics and tracing and all these things, but just from the JVM. So that word platform is one I think I'm gonna have to incorporate a little bit more.
Yeah, and platform is all about not just, well, it's a two-sided coin. Platform the technology, platform the people and the ecosystem. And you touched upon it. When we look at from a platform, the technology standpoint, for sure, I believe Java is probably, in my opinion, but there's other opinions out there, the best programming language out there on the planet. But I don't judge language choices. We all need to understand that whatever solves your problem or addresses your opportunity is the right decision. Like, I'm never going to criticize someone for making a different language choice. That is if it provides you value, that provides you value. That is great. But the beauty about going beyond the language is the Java platform, the JVM is really the secret sauce that enables so much out there. And if you look beyond just the language and the platform, there's so much of an enabling arc around Java. Like when I say Java, I think of it through the lens of language and platform. The ecosystem looks at Java beyond that, the tools, the libraries, the frameworks that enrich our experience, because it's not just one thing that makes a developer successful. You need a database, you need a framework, you need APIs, you need things that'll make you productive. And so we're so lucky that these last 30 years, others have built out so much for us to take advantage of, so we don't have to do it.
Java can look so different.
Right? It's just phenomenal and awe-inspiring to know that there's probably something there. I can leverage someone else's library. I can leverage someone else's framework. Spring, awesome. Shout out to you. And so there's already value in the platform. And now I look at the platform as that broader spectrum. But then you talked about the people side.
The people.
Like the platform, the people. It's when we talk about ecosystem, it's not just the user, the developer, you know, whether you're, however you define your vertical or your business use case. You could be in aerospace, you could be in e-commerce, you could be in social, you could be in retail, you could be in banking, you could be in commerce. Doesn't matter. There's a commonality in terms of how apps are built and defined and designed across industries. And so we have the power to leverage the knowledge of each other. And so you talked about it, user groups, what a great way and mechanism to do that cross-pollination of ideas, of risk, of challenges that we can then learn from each other based on our expertise and experience. And, you know, the Kenya Java user group is the newest user group to join the Java user group collective. So shout out to the organizers there. I think we're up to almost 370 recognized awesome Java user groups around the planet on every continent except Antarctica. So
we're working on it. We are working on it.
You know,
the word's out. We're working on it.
We're working on it. But like, what's so important about user groups is pretty much every Java developer on the planet has a user group in proximity.
Yeah.
Whether that's, you know, meters, yards, I say yards, miles, kilometers away, or something you can get in touch with digitally. There's probably something in your locale that you can connect with. And, you know, talking about us needing to make all of these resources more visible, one of the best destinations developers can go to is dev.java. It's got to be one of the easiest URLs you can ever imagine, dev.java. And on our portal, you get all of our tutorials, all of our learning content, information in terms of certification, but also where are all of those Java user groups? Who are the leaders? How do I connect with them? Who are all of the luminaries in the Java Champions program? Like people that have invested their careers and have done something meaningful either with the technology or the community to really shine. I think we're at 403 Java champions that are out there. I mean, I'm looking at one of them.
I was 346, 356, somewhere around there.
And you know, I wouldn't surprise me if another one would be joining that collective sometime soon. I don't know, DaShaun.
Maybe. Yeah, that'd be great.
But like, so, I mean, these are people the community can connect with and learn from. And at the end of the day, the way you keep loyalty to anything is nurture relationships. Like, I don't look at, you know, professional settings any different than our personal lives. How we invest in our personal lives is so similar to how we invest in our professional lives.
For sure.
You build, you grow, you nurture relationships, and that's what keeps people loyal to the things that you are building and evolving. And, you know, sometimes it may not be perfect, but when you are authentic about what you're doing and you've invested in the relationship, magic happens, patience happens, appreciation happens, participation happens, and that's the best part.
Yep, and something you've said at least 10 times now is the word community. And I want to talk about that a little bit. Something you just mentioned was user groups, and that's how I really started to get involved with the community. Went to a user group meeting, not really knowing what to expect, found like-minded people, had some good conversations. That got me more involved in the community, which led to, you know, blogging in the community or attending a conference or speaking at a conference, and then meeting more and more people and just kind of joining this really great community. You've said this a lot. Your title here is Mr. Java Community. how and I fully agree with that. You are, for me, Mr. Java Community. But how do you think of community, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, for sure. Which, by the way, I didn't come up with this title. A few of my colleagues, they keep referring to me as that, and I'm like,
I love it.
Should I start using that? I don't
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
Maybe.
We do.
You guys do. Fantastic. So I guess, Dan, the best way to answer that is giving you a real world example through the lens of my experience. So what did community do for me? When I was at Verizon, I wasn't in a technical position. It just so happened our internal marketing team needed a lot of IT support that our centralized IT team couldn't afford. And the fact that I have very technical parents living in that environment, in that home. I mean, mother rocket scientist, father aerospace engineer. Like, learning technology was just kind of around me, even though I didn't pursue it as a degree. I supported my team on so many endeavors, like setting up servers and password protection and email accounts, and I just got exposed to that world of IT through that mechanism. And the head of our IT department was like, "You're doing a lot of our work for us, thank you, but maybe you want to come over here and join us."
Nice.
And so I apprenticed in his org, and I was lucky enough to be in a company that lets you do job rotation. Next thing I know, in that era, we were working on what is now this mobile space we all embrace and love and appreciate and know, and has made all of us technologists at a certain point. And at that point, we were trying to understand, how does Verizon enter the mobile space versus the landline? Pick up the phone, rotary phone, dial and connect over copper. And I joined that team, and they invited me to join them to go to JavaOne because they heard about this language called Java. I didn't know what it was. At the conference, I met so many people from the Java team, and started to understand what this was, and also started to understand what I needed to learn. Went to my first user group meetup, which, by the way, the very first Java user group was the New York Java Special Interest Group, 1997. Went and attended a couple of meetings there. Next thing I know, Sun is calling me going, "You understand the mobile space, you understand the app space, you understand device configurations, you kind of understand Java. We can teach some of that to you based on what we need." The next thing I know, I'm hired through my network of connections.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even apply for the job. They came and knocked on my door. And what can community do for us? It can provide us and open doors we never thought were possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for me, community is about taking care of each other. It's almost like a family, but not a family. It's bi-directional.
Absolutely.
A lot of times companies get this notion of community so bloody wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, they see the letters, they say community, but what they mean is users. So how many people are downloading our, are hitting our GitHub repo?
Right.
How many users do I have? How many downloads do I have? How many members do I have to a podcast or a YouTube channel, or subscribers to a social channel?
Right.
I mean, those are useful metrics. Don't get me wrong. But does that mean community?
No.
Community means bi-directional
Two-way
information sharing that you stay connected on for the long term. I mean, it's the long tail.
Yep.
You don't jump in and then jump out and then 2 years later jump back in again, because the strongest relationships only come from consistent nurturing. And
yep.
I just see so many companies just screwing this up.
I talk about that a lot when I talk about building your professional network. It is a two-way street. You can't just go into any relationship asking for everything and not giving anything back. And so for me, yes, everything in my career that I attribute to has been because I've been a part of a community. But it's not because I've been asking for everything. It's because I've been giving to the community. And because of that, I've ended up getting so many things back. So I love what you said there. It absolutely is that.
One of my favorite words that doesn't get often used, but we need to make it more of our vernacular, is reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
I love reciprocity. Yeah, that's a great SAT word.
Can you spell it?
REP
Prosody.
Exactly.
prosody. But yeah, like if all you're doing is taking, that's great. Like if that is what you want to do, and that is what motivates you, no judgment. But don't
Yeah.
call it community, and companies shouldn't call community when if it's not providing something in return. I'll give you an example. One of the great demonstrations of community for us on the Java team is the OpenJDK community. Now, mind you, which by the way, for folks that don't know, that is actually the place where Java is uh, created, where ideas are formulated, where decisions are made as far as what we build in the next, next pipeline of features that will eventually land on a specific Java release. Yes, 90% conservatively, the engineering and the ideation comes from Oracle's Java team, as it should. But we also have the community participating. And so on our various projects at OpenJDK, a developer can subscribe to the mailing list. If all they want to do is just read to see what's happening and understanding how evolution is occurring. They can participate as an author or a contributor, like actually get their hands dirty. And so when you increase the aperture of expertise to evolve a technology, you just come to better ideas and eventually better decisions.
Yeah.
And in the same way, it's not just the OpenJDK community. When we look at conferences, I mean, you and I and DaShaun have talked about conferences all the time. Some of the best conferences are the ones that allow the community to help shape and frame them, because now you're actually delivering something that the end user actually wants. So it's all about participation. And so the greater participation you have, it just creates a longer pipeline of possibilities for anything. And that's why I think the next 30 years of Java and beyond is set up for such success, because over 10 million developers, almost 370 user groups, 400 luminaries in the Java Champions programs, dozens of conferences out there, amazing learning portals, things like this podcast, or I don't know, how do you couch this?
Yeah. It's a podcast.
Webinar,
Podcast.
podcast,
Both.
Yeah.
like,
Both.
Yeah.
like
Live stream.
Regularly
live stream,
scheduled show.
regular scheduled show. These are the things that give inertia and energy. And all too often, we also forget that other people just have their day jobs to sometimes do. They have to find the time to make the time. And so you have to have a very robust catalog of programs that an audience can attach to. So they may
Yep.
not watch your webinar all the time or your live stream. They may not come to your website, but if you give them a very robust catalog, they can come in and out at their leisure. And that's an important dimension too, which, this is resource intensive. You're talking about
Yeah.
time and money and
Mhm.
engagement, and it just can't be driven about like how much revenue has something incurred. Like there's some things you just cannot put a dollar sign on.
And the other thing you brought up is we get caught up in these vanity metrics of like social media. And I often tell people, like, who cares if you have 5,000 connections on LinkedIn if not one of them will refer you to a job? I'd much rather have 10 meaningful connections that I have nurtured, that I have worked with people on, that when I need to get a refer to a job, they're there to help me out. Those 5,000 connections that don't care about you don't really matter. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a celebratory moment when you reach metric milestones.
yeah, for sure.
100,000, 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, and so on.
Yeah.
We should be proud that
Yes.
we're growing. But then the question is, in those numbers, what's the quality of
Mhm.
behind those numbers? Like how
Yep.
meaningful are those numbers? How much engagement is that creating? How much conversation is that creating? How much productivity is that creating? And those are things that are oftentimes harder to measure, which
Yeah,
is why
for sure.
sometimes leadership forgets to understand that those metrics need to have value behind it. And if all you do is blindly looking at numbers, you're missing the important part.
Right, exactly. One of the things that we've been talking about as far as community goes is conferences. We all love conferences.
Yeah.
I think, that for me, they're kind of a bigger representation of like the user group meetings that I got started with. DaShaun often refers to his favorite track at a conference is the hallway track. because that's where you get to have a lot of those conversations with the community. Us three, are a part of that all the time. We have some big conferences coming up.
Are there?
One of which,
One of which,
DevNexus is coming up in a couple of weeks, not too far away. 3 weeks now. So yeah,
I think it's
both,
2.5-ish weeks. 3.
But who's counting? Who's counting?
Right? Who's
it's
counting?
so close.
17 days.
I'm getting real excited for that. DevNexus, one of my favorite conferences. Both of you will be there. DaShaun, I'll start with you. What are you excited about when it comes to DevNexus?
The whole track. That's you already said my
Yeah.
answer. I have some presentations that I'm excited about, but really it's the hallway track. My favorite thing of DevNexus, it's the times that when I think back, it's the times where somebody brought their laptop and we just sat down on the floor and let's work through it. Like that's my favorite thing. Still, those are like my big memories. Plus the great presentations. But yeah, the hallway track is the stuff that I take home.
Yeah, there's so many great people there too. I've stayed at the Marriott there down by the park, and every time I walk in there, I just see somebody, and like I see Shar, and I'm like, I'm back home. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Shar, what about you?
Yeah, there's layers to your question, Dan, because conferences are an extension of the user group, but in a much more enriching environment. And it's kind of unfortunate that we had to go through a global pandemic. At least here in the United States, conferences are just getting back online to the same level of robustness that we had 4 or 5 years ago. It seems as though Europe and Western Europe is sort of like clicking. We're seeing greater activity in terms of in-person conferences in Asia. There's a variety of online conferences that are out there. I think all of us have seen that. But there's nothing more enriching or priceless than an in-person experience, because
Agreed.
In my opinion, just in conference in general, the in-person experience is where you establish the relationship.
Yep.
And the online execution is where you extend the relationship. It's so hard to be authentic and genuine when you're behind a screen, because let's face it, when you're behind a laptop or a phone, whether you know it or not, consciously or unconsciously, there's so many other distractions that are keeping you from staying engaged.
For sure.
And you can't hide. You can't hide when you're in person.
Yeah.
And that really tests your level of patience and your courage to say less and listen more, because there's so much to learn. And so that's why I'm so excited, as you mentioned, about DevNexus, because it is the longest running and largest third-party Java conference in North America.
That's awesome.
And the organizers, the Atlanta Java User Group, that's been putting on DevNexus now for a very, very long time. I mean, we're coming up on 20 years pretty quickly. And that's an important milestone to celebrate, is they build out great content. Absolutely. You're there to go and sit in sessions and learn from the experts and gain and absorb their experiences. They have the hallway track, as DaShaun talked about, the opportunities to connect with other developers on things that you have interest in and familiarity with. They have a great exposition hall, because let's not forget, part of why conferences are important are also all of the vendors that have solutions and technologies that center around what we do. And so it's also important to take the time to understand and walk the expo hall and see what companies are innovating on and what products they have. And should I go and take this back to my work environment and expose it to my team and maybe build a mindshare to maybe test it out or eventually adopt it as part of our architecture. But then also you have what I would call unstructured time, and DevNexus does it better than many, many, many conferences. It's just a very open and welcoming environment, a bit community, a bit commercial, a mix and blend of both. And that's what you really want is, what should I be as a developer be using, developing, learning, and then who in the ecosystem should I be networking with to build and grow and nurture a relationship with. So I have that. I'm going to use an old time word here, Rolodex.
I don't know what that is. I'm not that old. I don't know what that is.
You mentioned dial tone phones and Rolodexes. We're kind of dating ourselves here today.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah, but it's basically your call down list of people who you can trust
Yeah.
to go to with questions or input or guidance, and vice versa.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the opposite. I've met so many people online that like years later I finally got to meet in person at a conference, and like you said, really start to nature that relationship, right? Like last year at Spring IO, I got to meet like so many people that I talked to online but have never met in person. So it's always great to like see those people and go, "Oh yes, you're a real person. Like let's hang out, let's talk shop."
And
So
I always tell the people that I meet when there's this like this starstruck feeling, I'm like, no. I'm starstruck that you know me. Like
yeah,
you're the heroes. You're the ones doing the work. We're just it's sort of like so I have a bit of a teaching background, and my where I derive value from, where I find energy, what motivates me is when I see someone else succeed because I've helped them in some way. And
hmm
there's nothing more priceless. It's like with your children. You invest your time and
yeah,
effort into them, and when they blossom and when they grow, like the reward is priceless. And so when you see people either online or in person who you've inspired or helped out in some small or meaningful way, when they start achieving, elements of success as they start moving up the ladder, whatever that means for them, and they come and
yeah.
say thank you, like
I I
That's the good
can't tell
stuff.
you I
priceless,
can't tell
That's the
you
good
priceless.
stuff.
how great of a feeling that is. And we in what we do a lot, we're just like sometimes just creating content and we don't realize like who it's affecting. Like at a conference, somebody will come up and say, "Hey, I watch your videos. They really help me out." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." Because I forget that sometimes. You're like trapped behind a camera just making content because that's what you love to do. You forget like, "Oh my gosh, I'm like really helping people here." So that's another thing that I don't get online. I get in person so much more, right? I just got a comment the other day that I should shave my head from someone on YouTube. They're making fun of my hair. So in person, I don't get those comments. I get the good comments in person. So yeah, that's great.
Uh, and
Just
I know for DaShaun, you've been to many conferences, both as an attendee, as a presenter, as an organizer. I mean, you have some great perspectives on this. What are your thoughts?
Well, the thing that I can circle back. The relationship between conferences and user groups. So in my head, I'm like, is a user group kind of like an extension of a conference? It's a different kind of form
yeah,
of that same thing, and additionally, that two-way street that we were talking about. One of the things that I was thinking about DevNexus, the vendors that show up don't just show up with a demo and hey, here's some stickers. DevNexus, I've been to enough conferences. I've been a part of enough conferences where I've seen kind of an array of levels of different things. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I like about DevNexus is when you go to the booth, there's more oftentimes than not, there's experts in the booth. So when I'm saying I'm bringing a problem, I get like a real answer, not a go check our website, go read this documentation. I don't like. There's been real experts that were able to show me stuff, and a lot of times I like that the vendor track because I get to hear about what's coming. Right. A lot of times it's at these conferences we're like, oh, what do you think? What's that two-way street? We're thinking about introducing this, or this is in the pipeline. And yeah, to be like first in line for the new toy, sometimes that's what you get with the vendor tracks. So
and
that's what was running through my head.
and DaShaun doesn't just talk the talk. I've sat there and people have come up and asked him a question. He's like, "Let's pull out a laptop. Let's take a look at
Right.
this problem. I'd like to help you out here." So if you could find DaShaun, he will answer your questions. I've seen it first person.
Yeah, I don't always have the answers.
Yeah, but you try.
I got
I mean
Dan
that.
and Shar on speed dial, so
I mean, we all have people that we can then reach out to. So
yeah.
Yeah,
speaking of,
there's still tickets left for DevNexus. So I mean, there's still room left. If anyone's watching and is interested, please sign
you
up.
should
I'd love to.
definitely come join us. It'd be fun.
Please join us. If you already know who we are, rekindle those relationships. If you don't, let's start some new connection and nurturing.
Absolutely. Somebody made a comment. Dan, you're not coming to Confu. I am coming to Confu next week. I will be there in Montreal. I just didn't mention it because my two friends here are not going. But I am excited about Confu. probably the best conference food I've ever had. So I'm excited about that, and I'm giving 2 presentations. So very much looking forward to that. Another conference I want to talk about is JavaOne. You've mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah.
I have never been to a JavaOne. I am attending and speaking at my first JavaOne, which is March 18th. Well, I think I'm traveling on the 17th, but that week, March 18th through the 20th, there's still tickets for that available too, is there not?
There is, and that is basically the catalyst to my entire career journey for Java. So the fact that I was able to go to the very first one in 1996, I will never forget that moment. I still have my backpack. I have my Java ring. Gosh,
Oh, wow.
I should have worn it for today's call, but I have my Java ring. And then back in 2008, I was lucky enough, and I don't know how this came about, but given the baton to actually be the program chair for JavaOne. So I did that from 2008 through 2017. Then again in 2022, after a bit of a hiatus, where JavaOne was temporarily replaced with Oracle Code One. And then we went on a hiatus again, but here we are bringing it back, and we want to make this as enriching as possible. The reintroduction of JavaOne here in 2025, happening in Redwood Shores at Oracle's campus, March 18th through the 20th. There are 6 parallel tracks. There's going to be a catalog of experts, not just from the community, but the actual people that work and build and develop Java will be on site. Folks like Mark Reinhold, the Java architect, Brian Getz, the Java language architect, folks like Paul Sandoz, who's helping out and investing in Java's AI strategy. Folks like Ron Pressler, that's working on virtual threads and Project Loom. I mean, there's just a whole collection of folks that from the Java team that you just can't get at another conference who will be there, and we'll have a lot of the hallway track experiences that you mentioned. But we want to make this a repeatable event again. So let's make 2025 JavaOne as successful as possible, so we can bring it back to the masses, because it is the conference that started it all. Which, by the way,
yeah,
let's give flowers to all of the Java conferences that came as a result of JavaOne.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they stood on top of the shoulders of JavaOne and have done some amazing things. And there is no competition when it comes to conferences. Every conference has an importance. So conferences like DevNexus or JFall in Netherlands or JFocus in Sweden, or JavaZone in Oslo, Norway, or
DevOps, Vox Days, Spring
IO.
So many different regions, different locations, different times of year. They all kind of scratch an itch. So
GCon, I mean, there's just a rich catalog of Java-related, Java-focused conferences that are out there that you can tap into. But we would love for folks to come back to JavaOne, make this recurring, and have a lot of these other conferences that took inspiration from JavaOne reconnect with us, so we can inject the future of Java into those events.
No pressure here, but maybe you give us a 5% discount code or something that we could share. No pressure.
Well,
I'm just saying.
If you're a Java user group member or affiliated with the Java user group, we have a limited time offer for Java user group members to use a registration code. We can post in the I don't know if you do minutes after this.
Yeah, we'll add it. We'll add to the show notes.
We do have
we can add to the show notes, but there is a discount code for Jug members that will run through March 10th.
You heard it here first. You only have a few days to sign up for that.
Yeah, you started naming off all the names. I'm like a kid in a candy store, because I've never been to a JavaOne. I've watched some of the presentations online, but I, for the first time, get to meet a lot of the people working on Java that I've looked up to for a number of years. And so I'm like really, really excited about that, just to go shake their hand and say thank you and sit in their talks. And I'm also curious, am I going to see Dr. Deprecator in the same room as somebody like a Stuart Marks, maybe?
If Stuart Marks and Dr. Deprecator can coordinate calendars to be in the same room at the same time with the same group of people, I'm sure something can be worked out. But
That'd be
Let's
cool. I'd
see.
like to get a picture with both of
Let's-
them if I
Yeah,
can.
sure, for sure. We'll see if that can happen. And for those who are watching who don't know, Stuart Marks, longtime member of the Java team, just a phenomenal individual. Works
Yes.
on a myriad of areas for the Java team, and is closely in touch and knows personally Dr. Deprecator, and so maybe you'll meet both personalities at JavaOne.
Yeah, and I don't know what talks he's given because I haven't fully gone over the session catalog yet, but whatever sessions Brian Getz is given, I'm going to be in because I feel like at times I am smart, but then I listen to Brian talk and I'm like, I have no clue what I am doing. So I can't wait to hear from Brian.
Why?
You know what?
How
but
come I get to sit at this table?
Brian Getz, who is the Java language architect, unbelievably humble human being. Yes, he is unbelievably gifted and talented, but he also listens very well. And so input and feedback so important to us. Very approachable. You'll definitely get to, hopefully, Dan, you'll get to shake his hand and just
that'd be great.
not just say hello, but like actually have a thoughtful conversation.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So yeah, we have some exciting conferences coming up. One of the things happening around the time JavaOne is, I don't know if this was planned or anything, but there's a new release of the JDK coming out, JDK 24. And the running joke now is that there are 24 JEPs included in JDK 24, which of course means that we're going to get 25 JEPs in JDK 25, right?
Sure. No, that's not how it works. You know that. But you're right.
That'd be really hard to keep up with.
We're very, very, very hard to keep up with. But you're right. Our next release of Java is happening on March 18th. It just so happens that it falls on the very first day of JavaOne. So we kind of look at like that first day of JavaOne as our sort of our release party.
Release party. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
it's a release party. We've been doing it every 6 months for years now.
That's right.
It deserves a release party.
We got to do we'll do an in-person release activity at JavaOne. We'll also be doing a Java 24 live stream from JavaOne for those that can't be there.
Let me say this when you talk about community, and I'll try not to get emotional, but the release live streams, I'm under this. I'm very goosebumps all the way. Those live streams are so good, and you can see my face, the goosebumps. Like they are so good. Thank you for those.
Yep.
These releases deserve that type of a treatment. They deserve it. Things continue to move fast. It's never going to slow down. And that one day worth of content, because we tried to like tack on to it as well.
Yep.
That day worth of content has been so valuable and it's delivered so well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Let's give flowers to the people really behind that. So Nikolai Parlog, Anna, Maria Mihalciano, Billy Corando, David Delabase, Jim Grisanzio. They are the heartbeat machine around those live stream launches.
And they get better. And they keep on getting better.
We pivoted because we used to do in-person launches, but for reasons related to the pandemic and others, we moved to a live stream, and it's just worked out better because we have greater, broader global reach. But hopefully maybe we can think about doing a hybrid version downstream when it makes sense, where like we're doing at JavaOne, we're doing something in person, but at the same time broadcasting digitally to reach the masses. But it's important to kind of cover both sides. And you're right. So Java 24 falling on March 18th. Dan, I know you're just pulling my leg, but how many features land on any release? And Brian gets this question all the time. Mark Reinhold, who is our Java architect, gets this question all the time. Every member of the Java team gets this question all the time. How many features are targeted for the next release of Java? Or when will, or better, when does this come? Feature, will a feature make it to the next release? And
structured concurrency.
And well, it's going to be in Java 24, but as a preview again.
Yes.
But nonetheless, the answer is it depends. So we have a very strict quality criteria. When a feature is ready, it then makes it into a release. And so we want to ensure it meets the needs of developers. And so if it's not ready, guess what? There's another release 6 months away. So you're not having that issue like we had in the past, where sometimes you're waiting 2, 3, 4 years And
Right.
at the pace of innovation that we're now experiencing in in IT, it just makes sense to have two releases every year to keep up
Yep.
with that pace of innovation. And oh,
And
by the way, it gives you developers a chance to also test out features before
and
they're
provide
ready.
feedback. Yeah.
Right.
And I
So
think
we get
string
input.
templates was a really good example of that. Like, here's a great
Yep.
feature that we want to put out there. Got a
Yep.
lot of feedback. Like, this isn't exactly how it should work. Let's pull it. Let's rethink
What
this and get it right. Like, let's
that
not push it out there. Let's get it right when it's ready. Then it would be
that's a
released.
great example because string templates first in Java 21 as a preview, then in Java 22 as a second preview. You know, many people were asking what happened in Java 23. You don't see string
Right.
templates, and the reality is because it was a preview, it gave us a chance to take into account end user feedback.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
it's not that string templates didn't achieve what it was intended to do. It's just we have to rethink how to deliver that functionality so it does meet the needs of developers. And so we've retracted it, rethinking it. And so, you know, once something becomes standard,
Once the
it
cat's out of the bag, it's out. Like,
it's out,
you can't
right?
get it
So
back in.
and you know, we want it to work the first time. And so
Yeah.
that's why you see some features that are previewed first, second, sometimes third or fourth four
Yep.
times, which, you know, again, community
Yep.
participation, you give us input. Does it meet your needs? We course correct and adjust. And so we can become more precise with our releases and our feature sets. And so Java 25, I'm not sure we'll have 25 JDK enhancement proposals or JEPs land on that release, but we'll see. But don't forget this. Besides all of the name JEPs, those that
Yep.
rise to the level of actually naming a feature,
There's a
there
whole
are
lot of features. Yeah.
there's thousands of performance, stability, and security
Right.
improvements just out of the gate that you get inherently just by upgrading to the next version that doesn't require any sort of special work on
Yeah.
your part.
And to piggyback on what DaShaun said, I think that's why what you guys do with the releases is very important, because you can just release this document that says, here's the new JEPs, here are the new features, have fun with it. But I think a lot of people just kind of scan through that and go, I don't really understand what that
Right
is or
there.
what that's going to do for me.
That's why you go to the conferences.
Having those live streams, having
Yep.
Billy do a deep dive in an hour video of how this particular thing works, that is just helping the community. And something else I want to point out that you said was, hey, as being a part of this community, one thing that you should be doing is trying to give these previews a test. Like, they're in preview mode for a reason.
Yes,
Test them
this is the
out and
community.
provide feedback.
Well,
And that is one of the best
more
things you
so,
can do.
even more so than that is not only can you with preview features give us feedback, but we also have early access builds of the next release. I mean, Java 24 will become available on March 18th. There are already early access builds for Java 25 that you can start testing
Yep.
Nice.
in your environment. So you have the ability to see what's going to happen before it actually becomes released and give us input. We didn't have this functionality or this approach, 10 years ago. Once something became standard, it was thrown over the wall, hundreds of features. It took years for companies to figure out how to utilize all of this functionality. And by the time the next release came, is just at the time when they were just ready. And so it's like you get behind the curve. And so thoughtful incremental innovation, release Java every twice a year in March and September like clockwork. When a feature is ready, it lands on a release. You have the opportunity to give us feedback on our releases. And with preview features, experimental features, incubator features, it gives you also another further chance to give us input on those specific elements.
I've never been to JavaOne. I'm not jealous at all. But I have been to Oracle Cloud World. And at Oracle Cloud World, we had a great Java team. And I was able to there understand how far ahead the Java team is looking.
Yeah.
They're looking not just one or two releases. They're looking releases, multiple releases ahead, and to understand how these JEPs. It's hard to go from what you see in the JEPs and what you see in the documentation unless you're like Simon, who goes through all of it and understands all the little side conversations. Unless you're doing that, it's hard to understand, why do we need to do this JEP here? Because that one is a prerequisite for this JEP that we're going to do in the next release, which is a prerequisite for the one that we'll do 4 releases from now. And getting to have that short conversation with the Java team that was there at Oracle Cloud World in 23 was eye-opening. That the way and Josh covers this a little bit, the way that we're using Java, the way that things are being becoming systems has changed the way that Java needs to change, and it's forced Java, and Java team is responding. So
Yeah,
it's just
and
great.
so what I would also say is, absolutely getting that in-person experience to absorb knowledge and have that question and answers opportunities is priceless. Developers can also go to our OpenJDK community, openjdk.org, and actually look at all those long-term investment
All the
projects
conversations.
like Project Panama, like Project Valhalla, like Project
Ooh,
Amber,
yeah.
like Project Loom, and others, and understand what is that horizon in terms of what are we trying to achieve. And from these projects, certain features are then developed. And it's not like one feature, it's a collection of features, and they're all interrelated. So
And by the way,
definitely
if
go
you've
to
never
openjdk.org.
and if you've never read through a JEP, please start doing it. These JEPs are so well constructed. Like, it's not just here's a feature. It is like a historical breakdown of how this feature came to be, what the thought process was. Here are the problems we're not trying to solve. Definitely, if you're interested in learning about a particular feature, read through the JEP because they're
And
definitely very informative.
and what other features it's interrelated with,
Yep.
Yep.
so you understand sort of the connective tissue.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate one thing you said before, which is like, yes, we have all these JEPs in Java, but there are a whole bunch of other features that come into play. And one thing I see DaShaun talking about with customers and developers all over the place is like, hey, go out and just look at what the security improvements are, what the performance improvements are. We were lucky enough to be on stage at Spring One last year with the folks from Netflix, and they saw a huge improvement just by moving to JDK 21. They had like a 20 to 25% performance improvement on over 3,000 Spring apps just because they upgraded to JDK 21 at the time. So while these JEPs are nice, they're very informative, look at everything else that's going into this, because being able to upgrade to the latest and greatest is definitely something you should be looking at.
Yep, absolutely. And from our side, I would say there's probably four important resources everyone who's watching should bookmark. One is openjdk.org. That is the OpenJDK community where developers can really understand how Java is being built, what is being built, and how to participate. The second most important, or not second most, but another important resource is dev.java. Literally our learning portal, our portal for all things Java, from learning tutorials, community information, our Java playground, in-browser experience to test out new features to see what it does. Inside.java, yet another .java TLD. Inside.java is an aggregation of all the publications from the Java team for easy discovery by author and topic. And then, of course, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Java, which is all of our digital assets for learning. And of course, there's still a wealth of other programs that we also have, but those are some good starting places to sort of like stay connected and start swimming in.
Awesome. I have put a bunch of those links in the chat, but I will get all of those that we talked about throughout the show in the show notes. Man.
And we
1
doxed
hour.
you. We shared your
1 hour.
LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. That's fine.
1 hour. That went fast. What the heck?
Sure did.
Time warp. It's a time warp when we have these conversations, because my head was spinning. So even though it was only an hour here, I had multiple threads happening. So it was like, yeah, 10x.
Well, let me put this way to you. Like I said at the very beginning, I know today's a holiday, but when you two invited me to participate in this live stream, again, one is I'm humbled, two, I'm honored, and three, if there's ever a need to come back and provide additional information on anything we talked about, whether it's me or one of my peers, let's think about it. But you two are doing some fantastic work with your Spring office hours. I love how you not just focus on Spring, but you also go Spring and the platform around it, both from a technology and people perspective. That to me enriches my heart. I'm a longtime listener, watcher. The fact that you focus on people, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you very much.
a little bit selfishly, I'm really excited to see you in a
thank
couple of
you.
weeks. So I can't wait for that.
And I'm still just a little bit jealous.
No, you'll see him.
Maybe you'll
You'll see
see Duke.
Oh, Duke. I love it. Awesome. Shar, thanks a lot. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And we are definitely going to have you on again this year. We'll figure out what we want to talk about there.
Or
but-
my peers, because really,
Oh, you know what?
It's my peers who are the like.
For
they are
sure.
the-
I was going to bug Billy soon around JDK 24. So I'm going to reach out to Billy and we'll
That
see
should
if
just
we
be a
can get him
regular
on.
standing show.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Cool.
gentlemen.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
All right.
Cheers.